Greetings, fellow humans. MartianBuu here, and so begins my second attempt at doing a Nerf Revert tier list. The first time, it took me about an hour and 15 minutes to do it, and when I got done, I looked at the recording, and OBS or Windows or whatever had switched my default mic to my camera, so the audio was unusable. I tried to salvage it, but it was not going to work out. And I was so upset by that, I actually took a few days off. So sorry you've missed me. But I'm back, and I know it's using the microphone now. I've tested it. We are good to go. And yeah, so these are all of the cards that were nerfed that are about to rotate. And we're going to talk about whether or not they should get the amnesty that comes to some cards when they rotate to wild. I do not know who did who set this up. Back when I was more invested, I used to make these myself, but other people are doing them now, and this was shared to me in my Discord. I don't know who set it up, but whoever that was, thank you. I'm going to use your tier list. I have adjusted the tiers to condense them a little bit. I think there were 4 tiers in the original one, but I've set it up with just 3. So we have the top one, definitely Revert, which is just all of the cards that there's no downside to reverting them. You might as well. Then we have Worth the Risk, which is all of the cards, any card that, like, you know, either the risk is low, so why not, or the payout is so good it outweighs the potential risk. Those go in the middle, Worth the Risk. You know, like, yeah, we should just revert this. And No Thank You, which is just the ones that we hate and are going to make us miserable if they get reverted. And by we, I mean me and like-minded individuals. Just so you guys know, I am the type who errs on the side of reverts. I dislike nerfs, even though I often think they're necessary. Often is a strong word. I think they're necessary when they are. But, you know, if it's not like a clear play pattern outlier, then I prefer no adjustment. So on the reverse of that, if it's not a clear play pattern outlier, I prefer a revert. So that's my thoughts. Let's get into it. Unfortunately, this being my second take, I've already done this once, so you're going to miss some of my reactions to me forgetting that some cards did get nerfed. Like, really, that got nerfed? But maybe that'll also make this faster. Who knows? All right, this is the Bob effect. So, Bob the bartender, its buy option used to actually steal the minion and then give your opponent 3 coins. Right now it copies the minion and gives your opponent 3 coins. I put him in Worth the Risk just because, like, that effect, a strong single target removal that's also flexible as far as, you know, freezing things and drawing things. Like, I liked Bob as a nice option. Answer to, like, what would otherwise be frustrating play patterns. The big one for Bob was Velen plus Serenite. When Velen plus Serenite was around, there was a free card that every deck wanted to play anyway that was a completely good answer to that combo in Bob, before Bob got nerfed. So there isn't currently a Velen Serenite right now, but also, like, in Wild, one of your minions getting stolen and you getting 3 coins, is that really going to flip the format upside down? It does have some potential to be annoying, which is why I would put it in Worth the Risk instead of definitely Revert, but I like Bob. I like strong cards, so there you go. Then we have Wondrous Wand. Wondrous Wand is the Marin treasure that draws 3 cards. Used to set the cost to 0, currently reduces the cost by 3. This has been around since the original Marin. It gets used by Togwaggle. And as far as this type of card, I would much rather nerf the, like, if having too easy access to the wand is an issue, then I'd much rather nerf the thing that is giving easy access to the wand than nerf the treasure itself, right? Because then you're nerfing all the other cards that are attached to it. So I would like to revert this just for that reason. Like, if Marin was an issue, I'd much rather, you know, raise the cost of Marin or give him some kind of condition for him to be accessed. But I don't know, I think it's okay. And like, there's the, you know, Wand is so powerful, why would you choose the other options over Wand? Well, that's where, you know, changing Kobold to be better was a good idea, you know, like having the other treasures uplifted a little bit to meet it. That said, you know, despite having said all that, I do feel like the treasure's power level is kind of like evened out after that change. So just from a pure design standpoint, maybe it's better that it remains the way it is. But precedent and no thank you. All right, spoiler alert, I think every Death Knight card is going to go indefinitely revert. The Death Knight struggles in Wild. It barely has a Reno deck right now, which is, you know, saying a lot for Death Knight, because Death Knight has been nothing in Wild for, when did it come out, 2003? It had like a brief stint of being even DK, and then its stuff got nerfed and it never got anything else, so it's been nothing. So it is barely on the map in Wild, because right now it has a Highlander deck that performs okay. So for what, like, Wild is an accumulation of, you know, 10 11 years of various classes getting, you know, a broken card here and there, and that's why most of them are playable, is because they have, you know, a handful of broken cards, and Death Knight doesn't, because all of its stuff gets nerfed and some of it stays nerfed for some reason. So anyways, it also, like, it basically missed a year of Wild power level cards. Like, after the first set, which was really strong for Death Knight, it got 3 like pretty weak sets. The Titan stuff had to be buffed, the plague package, they had to take a rune off of it, and then the excavate stuff was good, but that was very like standard tempo focused, so like and that was all you could do, you know. So Death Knight is a class that is really, you know, 3+ classes, right? Like, it gets a third of the cards that other classes do, because it itself is split up in 3 ways. And it basically took a year off after its first set. So anyways, all that said, you know, threads currently cost 3. It's the one that gives a minion, give all minions death rattle, deal 1 damage to all other minions. So currently costs 3. It originally came out at 1, which, you know, looking back on that, is kind of crazy. I forgot, because it was so strong at 2. I eventually forgot that it ever came out at 1. So 2, I think, is definitely, you know, goes in the definitely revert. The 1 cost one, the only reason I don't like it better than the 2 cost one is because the 2 cost one makes it available to even Death Knight, which I don't think matters. Like, I don't think giving this back to even DK changes much in that regard. I think for a while, Death Knight is just going to be a Highlander class until it gets some kind of big tempo thing, and I don't think that's going to do it. So anyways, probably the 1 cost would be my preference, just because I want to give Death Knight as much as it can so it can actually manifest in Wild. But there you have it. In a similar vein, Slither Spear, that's what it is. Okay, so currently is a 1 mana 1/2, was a 1 mana 1/3. Its effect is it gets +1 attack. As long as your hero has attack, he has that much attack. So it's a really aggressive aggro card, and the reason that I like this card is because it's not a pirate. So aggro in Wild has been largely defined by pirates, and like, even the current aggro warlock, which has historically been mostly discard and whatnot, it finally has some, you know, pirates bleeding into that too. So it's not that I don't like pirates, it's that I would like to see some variety in aggro, and Slither Spear is the type of card that makes that possible. Like, we need more Slither Spears, not less. So I would revert the health on that one. And then we have Ball Hog. So it's a 4 for 3/3. It has lifesteal and death rattle. Currently deal 2 to the lowest health enemy. Was deal 3. I don't think that Wild is going to get turned up on its head if that reverted. I don't think it gets played at all. So in Wild. So there you go. Umpire's Grasp, currently a 4 mana, I believe 3/2. There's a way to like set these so you can see the whole card, but I didn't set this one up. Anyways, the it's currently 4 mana. I think it's a 3/2 weapon, but that doesn't really matter. When it has Death Rattle, draw a demon and reduce its cost by 2. And this was nerfed in standard because there's what's it called? Something Shopper, I'm pretty sure. There's a demon that has miniaturize, and it discovers a demon and changes the cost and stats of that demon to the shopper's stats and cost. So when you draw the shopper from your deck, it reduces the cost of the shopper and also will reduce the cost of the demon that the shopper discovers. So the demon pool was such that you could reliably get some really powerful demons off of it. And so that was too much for standard. I actually really liked that deck. I thought the deck was awesome. But that has never been a thing in Wild, and I don't think it's going to start because of Umpire's Grasp. Is there, like, you know, right now we can already tutor Moarg Artificer with Timeline Accelerator at the same cost as this, with the upside of not drawing the other demons. I guess, like, you can draw a Streetwise Trickster with this too. Is that good? I don't know. I don't think that this is going to break anything in Wild. I think it's fine. Chia Drake, I actually do not remember. Well, the difference between this is its stats. I think it's currently a 4 mana 2/4. Was it a 4 mana 3/4 before? Might have been. But I think this is one of those ones that got its stats buffed and then its stats reverted. Anyways, so it's 4 mana for like decent stats, and you can choose plus spell damage +1 or to draw a spell when you play it, and it has miniaturized, so you can do it twice. I think this card's a cute card, and having it be slightly stronger stats would be good, because then Dragon Hunter or Dragon Druid would be happier using it. Trying to think if it makes any gross spell damage thing happen, but I really don't think so. Our next card is the one to really talk about with that. But yeah, I think that's fine. It's just like, it goes from being like a card to a kind of solid card with the additional stat buff. I know that people were playing it in Reno Druid and Wild when it had its stat buff, and they stopped when it got reverted. So I like having the additional option. Then we have Magical Dollhouse. So Magical Dollhouse currently costs 2. It's I believe it's 3 durability. Let me look it up. Ba-da-ba-ba. Ba-ba-da-ba. Entertaining machine. Magical Dollhouse. Wow, it actually did show the Hearthstone one. I did this last time where I typed in alien encounters without putting a Hearthstone at the end, and it just like, it didn't show me any of the Hearthstone stuff. But yeah, it has 3 durability, currently costs 2, and each use of it gives you spell damage +1 for the turn. And this card in Wild enables things like Isiel Druid to like have a Malagos effect without having Malagos out and still deal too much damage. That said, I don't think that this is the problem with any of those decks, and I kind of like it. So I want to put it in worth the risk, because I feel like the joy of using this outweighs the potential harm it causes. And like, whenever this is part of a deck, if that deck is a problem, this isn't the part of it that's the problem, if you know what I mean. So I'd like that to be cheaper. I think it's a cool card. I like to see it pop up in things like, I think it's cool as an option for decks that aren't focusing on that too. So you can run like Swipe and Gift of Malfurion as removal, and you have this in there just to like juice it up when you need to, you know, clear an aggro board, that type of thing. Like, it would be cool, I think. So I like having it around. Having the cost of it will make it more playable to things that aren't dedicated on it too, and having the cost of it, I don't think really exacerbates any potential problems in decks that are problems. Then we have Sparkling File. So this is 3 for deal 2 and reduce the cost of your next card by however much damage it does. I think it costs 4 right now. So, but this card wasn't played in Wild when it was when it was 3. I think the risk is low. We have better things to do with spell damage than cheat a card out. And like, we're probably cheating the spell damage card out anyway, so yeah. All right, now we have one like a really cool one to talk about, and by that I mean controversial, impactful. So this is the Mystery Egg. What was happening with the Mystery Egg in Wild? So it originally cost 5, discounted the beast it drew by 5. It has Death Rattle, draw a beast, reduce its cost by 5. And it has miniaturized, so you can do it twice. What was happening was Princess Huhuran, the iconically bad hunter card, that it's a 5 mana 6/5 beast and it triggers one of your death rattles. But the fact that it was a beast made it tutorable by this egg, and the fact that it cost 5 didn't matter because it got its mana cost reduced by 5 when it was drawn by the egg. So what you would do is you would trigger the egg either by letting the egg die and then playing the miniature one, or playing Playdead on it, and that would draw Princess Huhuran. You could play the Huhuran targeting the egg, which would draw another Princess Huhuran. You could play the Huhuran targeting the egg, and then keep going that way until you had a board full, and either Tundra Rhino your opponent to kill them, or you just keep creating big boards until your opponent doesn't have removal one turn. The real issue with this deck was actually Mochnithal Lion. So Mochnithal Lion is a 4 mana 5/2 that has Battlecry, get the death rattle of get one of your other minions' death rattles. So you play the lion, it gets the death rattle, you trade the lion, draws another lion that costs 0 because it's reduced by 5 and it only costs 4. Play that lion targeting the egg, it gets the death rattle, trade it, and you keep going until you've cleared your opponent's board. When you had the Mochnithal and the Huhuran, it was really easy to build up extra stuff in your hand because you weren't just trading 1-for-1 with the lion. You were, sometimes sticking a Huhuran too. Anyways, what was really obnoxious about that deck is how fast it came down. Plus, it's one of those combo decks that punishes you for playing for board, so it's inherently unfun to play against. If you were going to be a tempo-based deck and queue into this, you would not win unless your game plan was to end the game before 5. So, or like, well, that tempo deck. So like, then you're really only beating this if you're a combo deck outside of that. So you have to either have off-board damage or your board damage has to kill the opponent really early. So those are my least favorite types of decks. I feel like those are the decks that pin down the Wild format, like what you can play, that pin it down the most. So I was happy when it got nerfed the first time. So the first time it got nerfed from being a 5 that discounts by 5 to being a 4 that discounts by 4, and we were all thinking, oh great, it can't discount Huhuran to 0 anymore, so it's gonna be fine. Well, it turns out the lion was more than enough. So the lion combo, you just keep trading, you would always leave at least one lion, and then through various ways you'd start accumulating lions in your hand or whatever. But then what they started doing was playing the Naval Mine and Bran. So you could play egg, Bran. No, not the egg. You would have already done egg stuff. You would take your leftover lions and you'd go Bran, Naval Mine, Mochnithal Lion targeting the Naval Mine. So it gains the death rattle twice because of Bran. Then you play another lion targeting the first lion. So it gains the death rattle 4 times because it's gaining the Mochnithal Lion, the first Mochnithal Lion's 2 death rattles, and so the damage from that escalated quickly. So Again, it's punishing your opponent for playing for board. You can't stick a board after that because you have infinite trades. You're not even low rolling, drawing too many Hearthstone in a row anymore. You will always draw the lion because it's the only one that discounts. And the egg was cheaper, so the deck was faster. So I think that was actually my least favorite version of the deck. The first version was clunkier. We were running bait cards, and it was slower because the card cost 5. So I don't know. I hated that deck. I'm glad it's gone. I know that there are fans of the deck that are excited at the possibility of getting it back, but not only do I think that's a terrible idea, I think the risk is low. I think that the devs were very aware at the time of what an issue this card was, and I wouldn't expect to see it reverted. That's my guess anyway. That's my hope. You never know, though. So yeah, I put them in no thank you. Then we have Jungle Gym, which I do not remember what the nerf was. Is it... Let me see. Hearthstone Jungle Gym. I don't think it was a mono nerf. I feel like it's like only targets minion or something. So deal 1 damage to a random enemy, repeat for each friendly beast. 2 mana, 2 durability. What was the nerf? Oh, it used to have 3 durability, now it only has 2. Yeah, we're not going to notice that in Wild, that's fine. Then we have King Crush. So King Crush is 9 mana, 6/6, I think. Or King Plush, rather. So 9 mana, 6/6, and when it attacks, it returns all minions to their owner's hands. Is it enemy minions? All minions with less attack than it to their owner's hands. So there's that. This got nerfed to only have charge when your opponent has 15 or less health because of Imbue. So Imbue was making it really cheap to play this thing, and it would have crazy attack, and so you just swoop. Oh, it's a Battlecry return all minions with less attack. It's not when it attacks. So yeah, it like removes the taunts that are in its way and then smacks your opponent in the face. I think if that type of thing manifested in Wild, it would be cool. We already have the Leerox combo and Reno Hunter, and that's pretty fine. I feel like Imbue Hunter takes a long, like for Wild's pacing, Imbue Hunter would take a long time. So if that ends up being a thing because of this revert, I'm all for it. But I don't think it will. I don't think we'll notice that King Plush nerf. And we have Flickering Lightbot. So Flickering Lightbot is currently 5 mana. It used to cost 3. It has Gigantify, so it's reverse miniaturize. You get an 8/8 version of the card after you play it. It gets reduced by each holy spell you've played this game. So this card gets played in Libram Paladin. And Libram Paladin just tries to vomit out a bunch of stats and win in a turn or two. And then, so this was just another stat bomb you could play. People stopped playing it pretty shortly after it got nerfed. You can still, get it to 0 because it's only 2 stats more, but it's just like not good enough to make the cut these days. I think the stat vomit portion of that archetype is not the part that's frustrating for people, at least according, like if what they say is to be believed. The issue with that deck is is it Libram of Judgment, the one that keeps coming back? It might be Wisdom, I don't remember, like whatever it's called. There's a 4 mana, give a minion +3/+3, and if it costs 0 when you played it, you get it back. So pretty quickly you just keep getting it back. So yeah, like I'd be fine reverting this. I think that the stat bomb portion of it is cool. I like Libram Paladin, and yeah, so I'd put it in worth the risk. Then we have Tigress Plushie, which is currently 4 mana. It's a Rush, Lifesteal, Divine Shield, miniaturize. It's a 3/2. I forget if they buffed the stats when they nerfed its mana cost. But anyways, I think this is fine. I think it's a fine card to revert. It would probably get played if it got reverted in like Reno Paladin and possibly in Libram Paladin, but I think it's a cool card. Painter's Virtue. So I think what they did is they took the lifesteal off of Painter's Virtue. It's 4 for 2/3, and after your hero attacks, give all minions in your hand +1/+1. Who cares if this has lifesteal? Then we have Holy Glow Sticks. So Holy Glow Sticks, it's 4 mana, deal 4 damage to a minion right now, and lifesteal. It's reduced to 1 mana if you've played another holy spell this turn, and initially it could go face. I think that this is a good candidate not to revert, because I think what makes Libram Paladin tolerable is that unless they're running a crappy charge minion in their deck, they don't have, like, their board has to stick. So as long as you can keep clearing their board, you know, you're staying in the game. You can eventually outvalue them. At least I can. I believe in you guys. You can do it too. But with the glow stick, eventually Linessa just, like, it gives you too much off-board damage, too much easy off-board damage. You have Linessa, you play 2 of those, you deal 16 damage off-board. And, you know, you can run a charge minion in Libram Paladin, but like, this is on top of that even, and I don't know. I like the idea of not making Libram Paladin stronger by way of increasing its off-board damage. So I think that we probably wouldn't enjoy having glow sticks reverted. I would keep it off, especially if we're reverting other Libram Paladin cards. Not that, you know, they would do that. If I would guess, Flickering Lightbot stays off. Stays nerfed. There's more. There's more Libram stuff in here. All right, so now we have Raza the Resealed, which, like, I honestly don't know where to put. This is what my heart wants, because my heart wants this specifically for Highlander Priest. So Reno Priest being a real deck because of the combo again, and not because of just generic value, was exciting. You know, like, the deck was winning by being Machine Gun Priest again when it had this Raza. It was nerfed for standard because Imbue allows you to go infinite, basically. So the Imbue for Priest is you discover a minion or spell, and let me look it up precisely because I don't want to talk out my butt, but Priest Imbue. Choose a playable priest minion or spell to add to your hand. It costs 1 less, but it's temporary. It's been forever since I've used this. So you, like, it'll show you, it shows you a priest minion and a spell. I see. So it costs 1, but it's temporary. So costs 1 less, but it's temporary, and then it costs more or less for each imbue you play. So the Raza refreshes your hero power whenever you play a card. So you hero power, you get a playable minion or spell, you play it, refreshes your hero power, you get something you can play, and you play it. So, like, if it reduces the cost by 2 and you have no more mana open, it's going to give you a 2 or less cost card, so you can keep doing that. So if your hero power costs 0 by way of either original Raza or Papercraft Angel, you just get full refills. But so I think as a Highlander deck, if we're running Highlander Imbue Priest, so you're only running half of the Imbue cards, and your payoff is, you know, once you get both Razas up, you can do this, like, you know, fill your board up over and over again thing, instead of just killing your opponent with the Shadow hero power or the Reno hero power and Spawn of Shadows. Isn't that fine? Like, does that really matter? I mean, maybe it would be annoying. Like, I could see it being annoying to watch your Reno Priest opponent, like, once they've played both Razas and even one Imbue, literally every turn fill their board with even, you know, stupid minions. But Like other value decks can actually punish opponents for filling their board with garbage. I'm not worried about it. But Papercraft Angels. So then you run a dedicated imbue deck where, like, say maybe Raza is your top end, and you're just running Papercraft Angels and imbues, and then you pull Celt, so you always draw your Raza. I don't know. Like, these things sound so clunky to me. Like, is that really going to be better enough than anything else to be worried about? It's a shame, really, because I think that Raza the Resealed added, like, was such a good upgrade to an iconic archetype that had not only fallen off, but before it fell off, it had lost its way. Like, it just wasn't the same deck anymore, and this brought it back full circle. It was so nice to have around again. So I want to put it in definitely Revert. I think I gotta at least put it in Worth the Risk. My impulse last time, before I talked all that out, was to put it in No Thank You, because like, if you can reliably get this happening every game, where you just fill your board over and over, and your opponent, like, literally has to kill you off board, it can't possibly outvalue, that's going to be annoying. But I don't know, it's because it's annoying to watch your opponent just do a bunch of animations in a turn, right? And that's what this deck would be, is just animation, 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 animation. You'd watch your opponent discover 5-6 times a turn, every turn, until they eventually overwhelmed you with their whatever. I don't know, it sounds clunky. I wish we could just do away with the priest imbue. Hey, thank you. Because I think that the fun potential of the Raza Resealed in Highlander decks is worth so much more than the priest imbue. Like, I don't know what we could change about it, but I don't know. So I'll put it in Worth the Risk. My heart wants an indefinitely Revert. My gut says maybe no thank you, but we'll meet in the middle. Then we have Zarimi. So Zarimi was nerfed twice. It was initially once per game. Once you've played once you've summoned 5 dragons, Battlecry extra turn. So it's Time Warp for dragons. 5 was way too low. Even in standard, they were just playing the cheapest dragons and trying to rush this out. So they nerfed it to requiring 8 dragons, which made standard add that one miniaturized dragon that it, like, summoned another dragon when it died and gave you a 1-cost dragon in hand that summoned another dragon when it died. So you, like, got the extra dragons that way. You had to run one of those. But eventually people got sick of that too, so they changed it to played dragons instead of summoned dragons. I'm gonna go ahead and say that the 8 dragons one where it's summon is fine for wild, because that never saw play in wild. After the first Revert, it didn't see any play. Then we have to talk about the OG Zarimi, which was so good it got played in Shadow Priest. So we actually have several pretty cheap dragons, some of which have the pirate tag, so you can still run all of your fun pirates in your Shadow Priest deck. But I actually thought the deck was cool. I also didn't live with it for very long. It's hard when a card gets nerfed quickly, because it hasn't had the time to really set in wild, So, like, Pillager had like 2 years of being frustrating. It was cool for the first 3 months when people hadn't quite figured out the right build for it, and then after that it was just we just hated it for a long time because it took forever for it to get a nerf. So, like, if this had been around longer, would I be saying no thank you? I don't know. I think I'm gonna put the original one in Worth the Risk, because it was a very playable card in wild, but I liked it. I also, like, I don't hate aggro like some other people do, so maybe meh. Anyways, everything must go. So this is a spell for rogue. You summon 2 4-cost minions, and it costs 1 less for each card you've drawn this turn. I think this costs 10 or 9 right now, but I do think that it was barely playable in rogue decks. and now it's not playable. So let's go ahead and revert that. Sonya, what is this gonna do in Wild? It wasn't played in Wild, was it? I think this is one of those ones where, like, so for me, I'm putting it in worth the risk because I think the potential downside is low. So like there's two reasons to put it in the middle. Either the potential downside is low, or the upside is so high it outweighs the potential downside. So I think this is the first one. I know that it was doing shenanigans in standard, but those are pretty standard quality shenanigans. Aggro is much faster in Wild. I think it's really hard to create a Sonya Water Dancer deck that's really stupid in Wild, and like it wasn't getting played, right? I don't remember. Like, I remember people complaining about it in standard all the time before it got nerfed, but it was a card that, like, the people who really loved rogues were playing it because it was a fun rogue thing to do, which I think is fine. So I'm not scared of this card basically at all. The only reason I would put it in the middle tier instead of the definitely revert is because I don't think it's like an 100% safe revert. The change was it gives you a 0 cost copy of something. Whenever you play a 1 cost, it gives you a 0 cost copy of it. So especially now that Tidepool Pupil will cost 2, although we'll talk about that one later. They changed it to a minion only. Yeah, it's minions only, so you can't copy things like Cold Blood, for example, with the current one. Let me like be 100% sure. Yeah, it's after you play a 1 cost minion. So anyways, I'm not scared of this card. I think anything it might do would be just for the fun of it. And yeah. I really wish that, like, so when they reverted Kael'thas, I'm actually like slightly proud of them for making that change. I think that it was a unique situation because Kael'thas was busted in Wild in that form when it was in Wild, but that was right before they started actually paying attention to Wild. So they started paying attention to Wild, in my opinion, when Dark Lair got nerfed the first time, because that was a Wild focus nerf to a standard card. They did that 2 times, I believe, before they started banning. And Kael'thas had already gotten nerfed by that point. So Kael'thas was already doing turn 1 shenanigans in Wild in its original form. And if they had been paying attention to Wild before we all got like super upset about Dark Lair and they started paying attention, I think they would have known better than to revert it at all, right? I think that was a pretty, like, for people who are paying attention to Wild, I think that was a pretty obvious, like, no, that, you know, no thank you. But they didn't know, and they erred on the side of fun. So like what they did was they reverted it, and then we had 2 weeks of what I actually think are cherished memories of the Kael'thas revert. Like, I enjoyed that for 2 weeks. 2 weeks was the perfect amount of time, and then they took it away. So like it was a problem, and so they took it away. And so I would really love that with more borderline cards. I would really love it if, you know, we're like, if we could just do it and then revert it when it ends up being a problem. So yeah, I don't know. That's my story about that. I would love it if we just, like, if we're not sure, if we just go for it, and then but also followed back and changed the ones that ended up being too much. All right, here we have Crystal Cove, which I don't know. It's such a stupid card to nerf. I don't. I wasn't playing standard, so like I'm not being judgmental. Just looking at it, it's so stupid. So it's a 3 cost location. You get 3 durability, and whenever you use it, the next minion you play is a 5/5. It's a reference to the Crystal Core, the original Rogue Quest. And like the original Rogue Quest, it got nerfed from making 5/5 minions to making 4/4 minions. And also, like the original Rogue Quest, I think that this should be reverted because it's not going to do anything in Wild. Everything I have to say about Sandbox Scoundrel, I think I've already said about Sonya. The difference is Sandbox Scoundrel was getting played in Wild. So it's a miniaturized card. It used to reduce the cost of things by 3. It currently reduces them by 2, I'm pretty sure. And this was getting played in Hooktusk Rogue, which is a deck I don't love, but it's not a deck that I oppressively don't love. You know, like, it's not like the Hunter deck, for example, where its very existence and popularity reduces the variety of the format by a ton. It just kind of like, when I encountered it, I didn't love it. It was my favorite. And because, we're all a community with different tastes, I think when things are like unsavory but tolerable, it's, we shouldn't expect to have them not reverted just for that. Like, it, let other people have their fun, even if occasionally it causes you to have a little less fun. Anyways, I don't think that this is going to be like, the big problem was scabs, and that's been nerfed. So I don't think, an extra discount on the Scoundrel is going to remake scabs type combos, because that's what we would be afraid of, is some kind of Bran Alex OTK thing that, whatever Pillager Alex Rogue play pattern would pop up because of this. But I'm not really afraid of that. I think like that, those decks were leaning pretty hard on scabs, and scabs does, reducing the next 2 cards mattered. This is a much more limited card. It does still discount 2 things, but you have to play 2 cards. So I don't know. I think it's very similar to Sonya. I think it's worth the risk. Wave of Nostalgia got nerfed. I had no idea. I do vaguely remember, like, when I first did this tier list, it bamboozled me. I was like, wait, that got reverted. But since then, I've like, yeah, I guess I do vaguely remember that. I think it costs 6 right now. It's fine. Wild's not going to play that. This card, Cursed Campaign. I think this card, how it was getting played, is awesome. When I heard what they were doing with this in Standard, I was like, that's what they're doing in Standard? Maybe I need to play Standard. So Ancient of Yore, 5 mana, 5/5. It's dormant for 2 turns, and every turn that it like whenever the dormant ticks down, you gain 5 armor and draw a card. And so what people are doing is when that comes off dormant, they were just putting this on it and killing it to create 2 more Ancient of Yore. So it gives a friendly minion death rattle, make 2 copies of it, and they're dormant. So is it dormant for 2 turns? Can't see. Cursed Campaign. Yeah, dormant for 2 turns. So like, you get the 2 Ancient of Yore triggers, and then it dies, it creates 2 more Ancient of Yores, and then you get 2 more Ancient of Yore triggers from each of those. And I just like, I heard that was happening. I was like, that's sick. I want to do that. But this got nerfed by a mana. Yes, it costs 4 right now, and then people stopped doing it. That combo wasn't played in Wild, and also Ancient of Yore got nerfed. I forget what they did to it, but did it get nerfed? People talked about it a lot. Ancient of Yore, I thought it got nerfed. Oh yeah, it gains 3 armor instead of 5. Lame. Anyways, so Ancient of Yore got nerfed. So I think that's fine. It's not going to do anything else in Wild. Then we have Wheel of Misfortune. One of the Wheel of Death. Okay, so this is the card that gives you 5 turns. And I think it's cool. I really like that card, and I really liked it in Wild. This is kind of going back to the Zarimi thing, where like it got nerfed too quickly. So I don't know if I would have gotten sick of this or not. But initially, it counted down at the end of your turn, and now it counts down at the beginning of your turn. And that does make it a turn slower, but also it changes it from being an end of turn effect to not being an end of turn effect. So initially with Drakari Enchanter, you could accelerate the count. I thought that was immensely cool, and it was a deck that had like some pretty clear downsides, but it's definitely in that Zarimi Pillager Rogue type of area where you know, it was tolerable, and we had it for less than like 3 months. So like, did the best version of that deck ever get refined? Probably not. If I had to deal with that all the time, would I hate it? I think probably not. Like, you have to blood bloom this thing out to get it early, so you're gotta take 8 damage, and you know, if you want to do this reliably, you can't run Renethal. I think that this would be a slower boar deck, and boar is like just tolerable. I hate it. I wish it would go away, but like, that deck is faster than this one. So I don't know, because like, when boar blood blooms, you die, right? Like, you lose your mana, you lose your ability to interact with it. When this blood blooms, you know, you get at least 3 turns to kill your opponent with your full mana, right? So I think that this is, I almost want to put it in definitely revert, but it has an inherent risk. I'll keep it in worth the risk, but I do think it is worth the risk. Then we have Chemical Spill, which so the way this was getting used in Wild, I think it currently costs 6, but it initially cost 5, is you would cheat out Thaddeus, and then you would draw your whole deck and play Mechathune after copying Thaddeus a bunch of times. Like, there's actually a ton of different win cons you can do with this. I think, did the charge one get used a lot? I don't remember. But anyways, well, the silliest one I think is the Baron Rivendare one. So you can, like, the Barons all cost 6, so you'll have 3 Thaddeus out, so they'll cost nothing. So it's vaguely easy to play them all, but apparently that's the worst version of the deck. This thing costing 6 changes the turn that Thaddeus, because he switches his polarities, right? You need him to be even for that deck. So I guess he's even on, like, when you play Chemical Spill on 5, and him costing 6 means he's 2 turns slower, because, right? I'm pretty sure. Anyways, this got nerfed, and then people stopped playing that deck, which was great, because then I didn't have to play against that deck anymore. It's one of those where, like, it happens incredibly early. There's nothing you can do about it other than making your opponent explode by turn 4, and you have to sit while they play every card in their deck, watch a ton of animations, and just hope that they mess up. And that's how you would beat them, is if they mess up. So I'm gonna give that the old no thank you. Training Dummy, I think this got changed to Death Rattle, only target minions. I think that's totally fine. This wasn't played in Wild anyway. Inventor Boom, I think the nerf on this one was he has to be different minions. It's like, it summons 2 mechs that died, that cost 5 or more, I think, and they attack immediately. But like, this was played exclusively by me in Wild for the fun of it. I think it's fine to bring that back. Treasure Distributor, this is one that like almost could have been a Wild nerf. Like, it was so stupid in Wild. It got buffed to make Pirate Rogue a thing in Standard, because Pirate Rogue didn't have the pirate density to be a deck in Standard. So this got like way overtuned, even though it was already fine for a deck like that. And it ended up being disgusting in Wild, because Wild does have the pirate density for pirate decks. And so what it currently does is your other pirates get +1 attack when you play them. But its buff was, when you play a pirate, not only do they get +1 attack, but so does the Treasure Distributor. So the Treasure Distributor would just scale out of control. And like, you know, you play this on 1, it's already a 2/2 that summons a 2/1 because the patches comes out buffed. I think this is a definite no thank you. Like, I like aggro existing, but it doesn't need a card that strong. Then we have Sing Along Buddy, which I think I'm going to put in worth the win. Nah, we'll put it in no thank you. So I like this card for even decks. It currently costs 3, used to cost 2. It's whenever your hero power triggers twice. So it was a cute card for even decks, and I like the Uther OTK in Paladin. I like that as a Highlander win con, and you can still do that with it at 3. So it's not like the fact that you can still do that at 3, and by the time you would want to do it, you have the mana to do it just fine, is I think why I'm not like pushing more for this to being worth the risk. But I think this costing 3 has really tempered the amount of imbue mages that exist. I wasn't expecting it to, but it did kind of reduce it from top ranks completely. So I know that this combos with Reckless Inventor to do tons of damage, and it's a deck that punishes you for playing for board, which sucks. So it's not a deck you want to see a lot of. I know that like at super low ranks you do still see a lot of this because it's A, very fun to play, B, kind of cheap, and C, you know, it wins when your opponent's deck isn't really designed to win. So anyways, the population of Imbue Mage dropped off pretty significantly after the nerf to this card, which is why I would want to keep it here. I do think it's sad that even decks can't play it, but meh. Playhouse Giant. This was a cute option when it cost 20. Currently costs 25. It's discounted by each card you've drawn this game. So it wasn't like oppressive or anything, but it was a fun option for some decks at 20, and now it's not played at all. So I think that's a definite revert. Now we have a bunch of Zilliax modules, and shockingly, like, for me, what's one of the most innocuous ones ended up getting nerfed 3 times. So this is the virus one. The original one cost, looks like 3, and it gave stealth, elusive, poisonous, and reborn. And I think they first cut poisonous, then they cut reborn. Is that how it works? Pretty sure. So I think I don't want to look up Zilliax. I think the current one only has elusive and stealth, which is crazy. How much of this would I give back? Poisonous, stealth, elusive, reborn, all of it. Like, I don't know. Like, I think Zilliax is cool. Like, I know that people talk about like, oh, it's played in all the decks, but like it's designed to, right? Like, it's not the Zilliax card is a bunch of cards, and it's not like every single deck plays the exact same one. Like, every deck had a version of Zilliax it would want to play, which I think is a cool thing. So I would like to give back as much of this as possible. Like, it can definitely have poisonous, but why was the poisonous taken off first? That's crazy to me. The reborn is the one that, like, I don't know, the reborn is the one that makes it the most interesting. That's the one that made it a wild option, is when it had reborn. So like, I would give it all back. I think maybe like if we could give it back all the keywords but keep it at the 4 cost, maybe. I don't know. I definitely would err on the side of reverting that, because I don't think it's going to make wild any worse. And like right now we have 2 Zilliax options. One gets played, the copy one exclusively gets played in like ramping things, and the other one gets played, you know, borderline in some Reno decks. The deal damage to your own hero to get extra stats plus perfect. So I don't know. I think that like it's such a dud now compared to its former glory. Give your other minions +1/+1 instead of just +1 attack, I think is fine. This is the one where I'm not sure. So we have cost 1 less for each minion in play, but it costs 5. And then we have cost 1 less for each minion in play, but it costs 4. The difference now is it's not in play, it's each one you have. So like you can't just like your opponent has a full board so you play it for free. I think I want to put these both in worth the risk. I I liked it. You know, like I liked having the Zilliax option as uh like your opponent has a full board of aggro, and so you can play the perfect module for cheap and like get back in the game. Honestly, is it worth the risk? It's probably a no, frankly. I'll be reasonable once. So like it goes both ways, right? I think both are just stupid swingy because like you're the aggro player, and your opponent drops that Zilliax, and you just lose all of your momentum. Then they play Reno next turn, and then like it just it is punishing you for having a board. And then on the flip side of that, you know, your opponent's the aggro player, and you can never trust their board again because you know, it's so like if you have anything out, like if you play anything, you're making it easy for them to dump a Zilliax that's going to buff all of the other minions. So I don't know. It's like swingy in a bad way. I like it, but I think a reasonable person doesn't put that back in. I what I'm struggling with is if something doesn't turn wild on its head, I don't want to keep it nerfed. But it's like it's just shy of turning wild on its head, right? Like I think it adds mostly bad feelings to do this, and even though I think it's not going to make or break the difference between wild being an enjoyable format, I don't think it helps. Then we have, now I'm wondering, so my first recording took an hour and 15 minutes. I do think like a lot of the stuff that I talked about more heavily, we've already gone through, but I'm wondering if I'm somehow going to end up talking more the second time. Anyways, Dorian. So Dorian currently costs 5. It's whenever you draw a minion, you get a 1/1 copy of it in your hand that costs 1. And originally it cost 4. And the reason that that's disgusting and wild is because you could tutor it with Oaken Summons and do stupid stuff with it. So we'll put that in no thank you. Corpsicle, 2 mana. Originally was 2 mana, deal 3, and then if you have 3 corpses, you spend them to get the Corpsicle back, which I think it's just like a cool value card. And even DK could play it, not that that matters, at 2 cost. I mean, I played even DK with it in it, and I thought that was cool. So anyways, there's no reason for this to cost 3 in wild. Just in general, like all the DK cards are going here. Like Dreadhound Handler is a card that currently sees play, right? It's a 2 for 2/1. It gives you a 1/1 with Reborn, and when it dies, and it's just kind of like a solid minion, and it would be extra solid with its extra stat back. But you know, Death Knight needs a lot of extra solid stuff. It has a lot to make up for, and it keeps not getting things that are generically solid enough to produce a good Death Knight deck. So I would revert that one. Same thing with Buccaneer. And this is like one of the interesting cards that might cause the deck to be playable at some point. I know it got close an expansion or 2 ago. People were experimenting with funny Death Rattle shenanigans with this, like in a tempo deck, which was cool. It currently has 3 health. It used to have 4 health. I would definitely give that back too. Sigil of Skydiving, I think I'm going to put in no thank you. It's like, I don't think it gets played in Pirate Demon Hunter right now. I would like Pirate Demon Hunter to be stronger, but I don't want it to be stronger by this card. You know what I mean? This is like uninteractable charge damage. And like if Hosen, I think Hosen Roughhouser, I really wish that had gotten nerfed while it was in standard, so that like I could put that in no thank you and then put this in worth the risk. But like Hosen Roughhouser just kind of makes cheap chargers so frustrating in that deck, and like giving them more, it's probably worth the risk. I don't think I'm going to hate wild suddenly because this gets another charge back, but yeah. So I don't think this gets played right now. I think the 2 1/1s was not enough, and it's currently 2 1/1 chargers at the beginning of your next turn, and used to be 3. So I don't know, it's probably fine. Cliff Dive, this is the one that summons 2 minions out of your deck, and then they get rushed, and then they go back in at the end of the turn. I don't even remember what they were doing in standard, but they were not doing it in wild. I think it's fine. Then Hydration Station. So this first got nerfed to summon different taunt minions. It summoned 3 taunt minions that died this game. Initially, it was just summon 3. Then it was summon 3 different. And then they nerfed it to 10 mana. So I think, like, in either case, like, this wasn't getting played much in Wild, right? I think the first iteration of it did. But, like, if you're getting to 8 mana and resurrecting taunt minions that died this game in Wild, isn't that good? Like, yeah, I think Hydration Station, if that actually manifests in Wild, that means that Wild is slowing down enough that a strategy like that could work. Like, you know, it's Reno Lone Ranger's world, right? So that your stuff probably didn't even die. It probably got poofed. So I don't know, I'd bring that back. Sleep Under the Stars, I'm giving no thank you, just because, like, it's already a great card as it is at 8, and, like, at 7 you can't run it an Even Warrior. Am I the last person who cares about Even Warrior, by the way? I feel like everyone else has moved on. Even Shmoopy's moved on. Although I think Shmoopy stopped liking it once it became a meta thing. Anyways, at, like, this card is already incredibly good at 8, and at 7 it takes it away from Even DK, Even Warrior without, like, what is it? What new strategy does this open up? I don't know. I think that this is a no thank you. Just, I don't think anything goes wrong, right? Like, if we put it in Worth a Risk, I don't think this being at 7 really changes anything. But it, like, it goes from being a late game current iterate to being a late game, well, it's more of a refresh monocrystal. So I don't know. I take it back. I don't know. There's no reason to change this card, I think. Which, I don't like putting things in no thank you just because it's like, it's already good. Why would I make it better? But in this case, I think I'll go ahead and use that excuse. It's a card I like too. I just, like, I see no reason to revert it. It's already perfect as it is. Then we have RC Rampage, which got nerfed to, what even is this now? Is this like a 5 cost? So funny. But yeah, this was like a fine option in Reno Hunter before its nerf, and now it's not played at all. So I think that's an easy revert. Seabreeze Chalice currently only hits enemy minions, and so it only gets played in Wild as a, like, druid because of tourist anti-aggro card, but it was a druid Malago, like Dorian Malagos kill your opponent super easily card before, because it allows you to triple dip on the Malagos all in one card. So I would put that in no thank you, because, like, I think it's in a good spot. Like, it's useful, it's not stupid, and it's less frustrating from a player standpoint, because, like, until you want to kill your opponent with this, you never want this to go face, right? Like, you always want it to hit the minions. Now it always hits minions. So it's taken away the frustrating play pattern of dying to too many pings late game, while also taking away the frustrating pattern of losing your coin flips against an aggro board and not being able to clear it. So I think it's a cooler card as it is than it was. Tsunami, I think, is fine to rebuff. So it got buffed from 8 mana summon 3 frost elementals to 10 mana summon 4 for big spell mage reasons, right before a mini set that had a bunch of big spell mage support, so it became oppressive, I guess, in standard. But, like, who cares in Wild? Similarly, like, I didn't even realize this got nerfed. I think it costs 6 mana now. It's the first spell you draw. The next spell you draw has cast when drawn, so it's a way to, like, cheat out a big spell. Same thing with this lady, Skyla. I think she currently costs 6. It swaps the cost of 2 spells in your hand, so you get, like, a coin or something and, you know, cheat out a big spell. These are not Wild worries, so I think they're fine. Then we have Divine Brew. So Divine Brew currently is just give a minion Divine Shield. Initially it was if that minion already has Divine Shield, give them +1 attack this turn instead. So it was a little bit of burst damage. I think I'm going to put that in Wortherus. It already sees play in Libram Paladin and whatnot, just because it's 3 holy spells. Like you can use it to draw with Myrmidon too. And like I really like limiting the burst damage of Libram Paladin, so like I almost want to put it in here, but like I think it's a fine revert. Then we have Brain Masseuse, which I think I'll put in worth the risk. So I have this dream. I've had this dream for 11 years, or whenever Wrathguard came out. I've had this dream of being warrior and shield slamming my opponent's Wrathguard that they're playing for their own reasons, and you know, hitting them for 30 to make my opponent explode. And I've never done it. I've done some, like I think I've finished opponents off when they've had like 5 health left with things like that for Brain Masseuse. But so Brain Masseuse is Wrathguard if Wrathguard was good, right? So it was 1 mana for 2/4, now it's 1 mana for 2/3. And you know, so it's when it takes damage, your hero takes that much damage too. So it's overstated, and the cost of it is health, and Aggro likes to trade health for tempo, so it's just a really good aggro card. And that constantly being around means whenever I play warrior, I have the chance to do that to them. And I still have never done it. I don't even think with Sanitize, but I would love to. So more Brain Masseuse, the better, I think. And also, like, Aggro Priest lost Treasure Distributor and lost Void Touch Attendant, so like it already sucks. It can have its Brain Masseuse back. Come on, like that like the tempo aspect of Shadow Priest was fine. It was the like scaling out of control with broken 1-drops aspect of it that was the problem, and this doesn't scale. It's just like it's a little bit extra statted with like a slight liability. So I think that's worth the risk. Metal Detector is currently Death Rattle, get a coin, was when you attack a minion, get a coin. It has 2 durability and 3 attack for a 3-cost weapon. I think it's so this is the type of thing that got played in Hostage Mage and stuff. Do I really want that back? Is this a worth the risk? I think I had to put it in definitely Revert, but thinking about it now, like, do I want to give Hostage Mage anything? I don't really. So maybe I'll put it in worth the risk, but I think it's largely fine. Then we have Conniving Conman, which was repeat the last non-rogue class card you played. So it's from the Tourist set, so you could tourist it into Paladin, which meant that it's replay the last Paladin card you played. So you got to do funny Paladin stuff with that. I think that's fine in Wild. Like, we were using it as a way to like, it was like having an extra buddy or garrison commander in your deck. Mostly garrison commander, because you could go, well, I guess you can't with 3-cost buddy, right? So you could go buddy, hero power, Conniving Conman, hero power, because it would replay Uther. Man, I don't really see this doing anything obnoxious and wild in it. This is a rebuff, by the way, which they almost never revert to when they rotate. Like, I think the only one ever has been the Varden hero card got rebuffed when it went to wild. Even like the super innocuous ones, like the that beetle from Death Knight, it didn't get its health back when it, like, the health that it got an extra health. It's like it gives your opponent's minions Death Rattle, give your opponent a 2/2 taunt. So yeah, but like that card was wild fine, and it still didn't get its buff back. So Harpoon Gun didn't get its buff back, even though it was like important to an iconic and good for the meta deck. So whenever they're getting a buff back, we should pretty much expect it not to happen. But yeah, I think that would be fine. Same thing with Seashell. Do we really care if the next Paladin card costs 2 less? I don't think so. I think that's fine. Then we have Razzle Dazzler. So this was I forget if I even said what the nerf is. It's card from a opposing, like, another class instead. So when these were released, it's card from another class. They were changed to non-rogue card. And like in Paladin, why does that even matter, right? I guess it lets you replay the other things you've touristed in, but I don't know. These cards are kind of silly as tourist cards in their original version, which I think, like, silly conceptually. They don't do anything. So I think that giving them back to Paladin for the tourist set makes sense. Anyways, Razzle Dazzler, another tourist card. Currently costs 7, used to cost 6. It summons a minion for a 5-cost minion for each different spell school you've played, which the most that got played in Wild was people like me playing it in even DK, is like, you know, at least DK can do something. I don't think this is going to see any play as is in Wild. Like, even if it got its buff reverted, like, who's going to play this at 6 cost to just summon a board that's just going to get poofed or something? Yeah, like, it wasn't played in Wild at 6 cost. Why would it get played? It's not getting played at 7, wasn't played at 6. Not afraid of it in Wild. Malted Magma. So the change to this one was, it's a drink card, so you get to do it 3 times, cost 2, deal 1 damage to all enemies. It got nerfed to deal damage only to minions. I think it's fine to revert this. I don't think it breaks any shaman stuff, and it's nice to have more options in Death Knight. It's you can tourist it into Death Knight. Party Friend. So was a 1 mana 2/1, summon 2 1/1s and deal 3 damage to yourself. Now it costs 2. I think this is a fine, like, aggro minion. Doesn't matter in Wild. Like, it's not getting played in anything. It's not a concern for Questline Warlock. It's an actively bad card in Questline Warlock because it ruins your raised deads. So it's a fine revert. This is another one. Like, these two are both cards where when I heard they got nerfed, I was like, really? So this one gives your opponent a 0/4 crab or something, and when it dies, you summon a random minion from your deck, so you can cheat something out with it. I think it currently costs 4. I think if this card was going to do anything in Wild, it would still do it at 4. But you know, I barely know it exists. I think it's a fine revert. Same thing with Reserve Spot. So it's 3 cost for give a minion in your hand +4/+4. I think it costs 4 right now. I forget. And if it's the only one there, it costs 2 less. So it's a way to cheat out a minion. I think this card was getting played in Imbue Hunter because it's another tourist card. But yeah, I don't think that this is an issue in either class in Wild. Typal Pupil. This is going to go in, I'm showing it up here just so you can look at it, but it's going to go in no thank you. It currently costs 2 and is still played a lot and is like borderline problem at 2. So it's, if you cast 3 spells while holding this, discover one of them. At 1, it's just like way cheaper. You're going to see it more often, which isn't inherently a problem, but it allows, like, Hostage Mage to keep discovering Solid Alibi over and over and over again. It just, like, if there's a spell that's obnoxious, you keep seeing it because of the Tidal Pupil. I guess, like, the biggest issue with this right now is Hostage Mage. So I don't want to make Hostage Mage better. But also, like, at 1, you start seeing it in all kinds of Miracle Rogue type stuff, which, like, sounds cool, could be fun. It's almost a worth the risk card, but you just kind of shove it into everything at a certain point, right? Like, at 1, it's just good enough to go in aggro decks if they're running enough spells. So I don't know. I think it's an already strong card that's potentially a problem in the decks it's already in that becomes way better when you half the mana out of it. Concierge. So cards that from another class cost 1 less. This was nerfed in combination because of you would play it in Druid in Standard with, where is it? Seabreeze Chalice, but especially if Seabreeze Chalice stays nerfed, then why would we care about that? So like you could play Seabreeze Chalice for free 3 times with spell damage out. Was what was happening with that. Gorgon Zormu. So I'm gonna pat myself on the back for this one. Like this is just like a really solid card. It's totally fine. And when I was playing with it in the Theorycraft stream for that set, I was thinking like, this card is too solid. It's gonna get nerfed eventually, and it did. Like I don't know why I'm patting myself on the back for this one specifically. I always feel very proud of the fact that it got nerfed. I think it's just, I believe very strongly that it shouldn't be nerfed, and I just knew it. I knew it in my gut. Like, there's nothing wrong with this card. It's just solid. What was that? Pozic. You know, if Pozic's gonna get nerfed, the other like super fine neutral card, then you know Gorgon Zorma is gonna get nerfed. Currently costs 4. Used to cost 3. At 3, it was a card that saw play in Wild. At 4, it isn't. I think it's totally fine to get reverted. These ones, I think I'm putting in worth the risk. So currently, Lamplighter deals 4 damage. I think whoever did this forgot to discount one of these. I think it costs 3 first. Yeah, I think this should be a 3 cost. Let me look it up. Shout out to Hearthstone Wiki for being like the most useful tool. Yeah, it used to cost 3. So anyways, and then its battle cry is deal damage equal to the turns in a row you've played elementals. So you would like in standard you were playing Youthful Brewmaster and Shadow Step to bounce the Lamplighter and you know deal lots of damage late game. It was really funny because people were talking about like Shadow Step getting this card nerfed when the rogue version of this deck wasn't even the good one. It was like tier 2 or 3, and the shaman one was the stupid one. But so much of the rhetoric was Shadow Step focused, but the card was just inherently strong. It was strong enough that you would play Youthful Brewmaster in the shaman one. Anyways, I think this card is totally wild fine. You're not going to play it in rogue, that's for sure. And if you're playing an on curve elemental deck in shaman and wild, that's cool. So I think this is worth the risk. I like, it wasn't even played in wild, right? Like, I think it's probably just a definitely revert, but I'll keep it at worth the risk. I think it's fine. Insidious, totally fine. Cost 7 right now. It's the one that shuffles the eruptions into your deck, and then at the end of your turn it buffs their damage. But that's slow for wild. I think it's perfectly fine card to revert. Dungar. So this card currently gets played in wild at 10. It like summons Malagos among other things. You know, you get Malagos, you get your ANR, you refresh, you kill your opponent. So it's already doing stuff that's obnoxious in wild. I don't think it needs to be, you know, 1 mana better. It currently costs 10, used to cost 9. Then we have, you know, Starship pieces for so I guess Starship DK was oppressive in standard. We wouldn't know. For those of us who, like me, don't really play much standard, you know, we've never heard of this card. It's totally fine. Like if Starship DK manifests in, I couldn't even tell you what they nerfed about it. This card is off my radar, but it like triggers a random friendly death rattle, it's a Starship piece. If Starship Decay manifests in Wild because of this Revert, it's a good thing. Then we have Alien Encounters. So it's 5 mana, reduced by each time you discovered, and it summons 2 taunts that were 2 5s, are currently 2 4s. I think this is a cool card for Wild. Like, it's a very satisfying card to play. Its impact is like strong but not oppressive. It's like borderline. I would say it's on the weaker side of a strong card, and it was like almost making decks in Wild and not quite getting there before it was nerfed. So I'd like to have that back. I think that's fine. Orbital Halo is currently give a minion +1/+1 in Divine Shield. It costs 2, but it costs 0 if you played a card this turn that's adjacent to it. Used to give +2/+1, and at +2/+1 it got played. At +1/+1 it doesn't, and I think having more priest decks that aren't Shadow would be cool. So I think that's a good one to revert. Quasar. So Quasar was cost 6, currently costs 8. It shuffles your hand into your deck and then discounts your whole deck by 3. In Wild, we have Knick-Knack Shack and Quick Pick as ways to draw a card the turn we play Quasar. We also have, gosh, what is that Naga called? It's a 4 for 2/2. I'm already over on my recording than I was the other day, so sorry I'm talking so long. And I still have so much to go. I've said way more. Anyways, it's a 4 for 2/2. Your next spell costs 0. So in Wild, either way, most of the time we're playing this for 0, but so you'd think it doesn't really matter if this costs 6 or costs 8, but it does because of backup plans. So first of all, if you don't draw the Naga, having an 8 cost Quasar in your hand means you will never win in time. Having a 6 cost Quasar means you might just barely get there. Like, getting to turn 6 if you needed to have it by turn 4 is like, it's possible. But 8 is like gone. But also at 6, it doubles the amount of cards in your deck that allow you to play Quasar on 4, because you can either have the Naga or you can have Preparation, either of which will get you the turn 4 Quasar. So the play pattern of this is to play Quasar and then use either Quick Pick or Knick-Knack Shack to start drawing cards. Knick-Knack Shack will draw you multiple cards. Most cards in that deck draw, so they will replace themselves or they will draw 2, allowing you to more easily chain the whole rest of your deck. So the idea is to play Quasar, draw your whole deck that turn, play 2 Streetwise Tricksters, and gear out your opponent for an unbelievable amount of damage, because you're it's 8 to 12, right, iterations of damage to benefit from the Streetwise Tricksters. So anyways, it's an obnoxious deck. It doesn't need to be better. And it like, what I really like about this is if you loved the Quasar deck, you can still play it. It's just like, it's not consistent enough to be a top tier deck, but it is decent enough that if you loved it, you can still play it. So right now it's in the perfect spot, in my opinion. Then we have Murmur. So I don't know how I feel about Murmur. Probably feel like it's stupid. Murmur is probably a don't revert. So it's it was initially your Battlecry minions cost 1. It got nerfed to your first Battlecry minion each turn costs 1, and in either case the minion gets destroyed after you play it. It's got nerfed twice because first they went after its mana, then they went after its effect. It did have a stupid, like, you would play Ysera and Shutterblock, and how would you do it? Oh, you played Shutterblock to copy the Shutterwalk. Okay, so yeah, you would play Shutterblock, who has miniaturize your next Battlecry triggers 3 times, but can't deal damage to the enemy face. You would use that to triple the Ysera one, so you would get 9 mana from that. All these cost 1 and then die, so you don't have to worry about board space. So now you have 9 mana to work with after you play the Ysera and the first Shutterblock. Then you play Astalor. Then you play Shutter Block again, which now your next battle cry will trigger 3 times. You play Shutter Walk, and because Shutter Walk is not himself dealing damage, it would work. No, the Shutterwalk still wouldn't deal damage. He'd just add a bunch of Astalor to your hand and also trigger Ysera 3 times, so it refreshes your mana again. That's how it works. All right. So you ended up having just like a crap ton of extra Astalor triggers because of this combo. So that was the Shutter, the Murmur deck in Wild. And definitely at 6 mana, I would say no thank you. 7 mana you could almost put here because like it did temper that deck a little bit. But I feel like this is the type of card that's only going to be obnoxious in Wild, like if you revert it. So not a fan. Then we have Seaside Giant, which I want to put no thank you because I don't want to see its stupid face anymore. I really didn't like the Perils set theme. It's way too modern, goofy. Like it's not even like marginally separated from the medieval fantasy. Not medieval, but yeah, I mean, I don't know, the medieval fantasy war realm. It's like spits in its face. It's complete immersion breaking. And every Perils card, like especially ones like this, like where I don't know, Warcraft is supposed to be a little goofy, but this is so beyond the, like it's so over the top. It's just kind of like so I want to put it here just because I don't want to see it anymore. But like play pattern wise, it's fine. Like you play a bunch of locations and it costs 0. Who cares? Braingill. So this got nerfed for the Murloc quest that has now gotten nerfed. I think it's fine to bring that back. I think it's fine to revert the Murloc quest. Next is Prince Schaefer. So it's Spellburst, give a minion in your hand +3/+3, and this Spellburst. It got nerfed because of things like Serenite Chaingang, and well, Chaingang wasn't in standard, was it? I think it was Azurite Chaingang was the one that was in standard. Don't remember. But that and the stronger one was the Zergling. So that you would put that effect on Zergling, and then both the Zergling and the one that copied itself would have that effect. So you could like, you know, chain bigger and bigger threats. It got changed to it can't hit a minion that already has that effect on it. So it went from being like a really impactful card to the point that it was even getting played in Wild to not an impactful card. And personally, I'm not that worried about it, but like it does scale pretty fast, and I'm definitely gonna put every single StarCraft card in the revert zone. So I guess it's not that safe of a revert. I almost want to put in a worth the risk. I'm not worried about this. That's fine. All right, so I'm gonna put Oracle in worth the risk. I guess I want to put it in definitely revert because I think the card is cool. It currently costs 4. It used to cost 3. It has spell damage +1, and its spell burst is draw 2 cards, or draw 2 spells rather. It's just a modern day Azure Drake. It's Azure Drake if it was printed today instead of printed when Azure Drake was printed. Like, I don't know. I think it's cute. I like it. I don't care that aggro has it. I don't care that aggro is strong. I don't care that combo decks have it. I don't care that value decks have it. I just think it's a cool card. But it is like it's strong. Like a 3-cost Ethereal Oracle is going to get played in a lot of things. So like, I guess it's reasonable to say that there's risk that comes with this. But like, it's so basic. It's such like a nice. It enables so many things, right? Like it's going to make strong things stronger, sure, but it's also enables a lot of like off meta stuff to be interesting. So I like Ethereal Oracle. Now this is such a funny card to get nerfed 3 times. I can't believe it. This card got nerfed 3 times. It's incredible. So first nerf was to its mana cost, second nerf was to the amount of armor it gains, and third was they removed taunt from it. But like when it came out, it was a 4 for 3/5 taunt, death rattle, gain 6 armor. It's so fair. But there are different effects that allow you to replay it a bunch, and it's a Starship piece, so every time it dies, it goes in a pile. So I think with Demon Hunter and Death Knight, they were doing this too much in Standard. I didn't pay that close attention. I know that at least one of these times it got nerfed specifically for Demon Hunter, because Demon Hunter has all those resummon minions from one of their sets that was recently in Standard. And they finally took taunt off of it. It's so funny this card got nerfed 3 times. So what does this do in Wild? In Wild, we have a Priest deck. And what's cute about that is I don't think Priest even has Starship stuff. I don't think they have a Starship card. But that was the Starship deck that saw play in Wild, was Priest, which didn't have a Starship card. So all classes have Starship cards because they have the neutral ones, but they didn't have any class ones. It wasn't meant to be played in that one. But because there are so many Resurrect cards in Priest, you just kept bringing back the Arcanite something. They didn't put the full name on any of these. It's Arcanite Defense Crystal is what it's called. And so you would keep resummoning them over and over again and gain a bunch of armor, and then when you finally like ran out of ways to resummon them, you would pop the Starship and there would be this gigantic, armor thing, and you play Xyrella, it replays all the Starships, it replays your big Starship. I don't know, it's funny. And it wasn't good enough, right? Like it wasn't like you were playing against that all the time. It was just kind of like just solid enough to be a cute deck you might run into sometimes. And I thought it was really funny. So I would bring that back 100%. I see no downside to bringing back any of these. I don't see a Starship deck manifesting in Wild other than that one, and that one was tolerable. So I think it's a safe revert. Ceaseless Expanse. I think... So 15/15 I will put as worth the risk. 100 mana instead of 125 I will put in as definitely do it. So at 100 mana, this card was a solid option for a lot of decks. At 125, it is only good in things like Holy Wrath and Lava Gorger decks that just want you to have a giant mana thing to do way too much damage. So there's no Holy Wrath anymore, but we still have Lava Gorger, and presumably more cards like that will show up in the future. So, every mana cost we can knock off this thing is good from that standpoint, because, it's dealing less, healing less, whatever. I don't think that 100 to 125 or the other way around makes a difference between whether or not Lava Gorger is good. So, it doesn't really matter from that standpoint, but I do think that there is a benefit to Ceaseless being in, I want Ceaseless to get played for its own sake instead of just as an enabler for something that wants you to have a high cost thing. So that one I will put in definitely revert. The 15/15 is I don't think it really matters. I think that, if you're playing a 10/10 that destroys the whole board, it's about as good as a 15/15. If that sticks and gets to swing, you're probably in a good spot. And it's not that much harder to remove a 10/10 than it is a 15/15. So I'll put that in worth the risk just because I don't see much downside, but there could be. So these are all of the Terran Starship pieces. It's funny to me because I think that the most oppressive StarCraft deck in Standard was the Terran one, but it's also the one that had the least impact on Wild. It just was not a Wild because it was endless value, right? And if you give half the decks in Wild, if you give them endless time, they will kill you no matter how much value or armor you have. They're gonna get through it. So those type of decks don't really have the same foothold in Wild that they can in Standard. Which is why we saw none of this in Wild and a ton of it in Standard, and it was the most oppressive of the StarCraft cards in Standard. But like I said, I don't think that they're Wild problems at all, and if reverting them all got us to see some of them in Wild sometimes, I think that would be a good thing. Then we have the only controversial one on this whole list, I think, because recurring infester, so the infester nerf was so like these this little StarCraft draw card, it costs 4. The ships all have like their numbers on their effects lowered, and Rainer was cost 7, currently costs 8. The infester here, so your Zerg minions have +1/+1 for the rest of the game. The idea was to keep playing those over and over and over again, and your Zerg get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. So you would use like Reborn, and you could discover more of them or generate more of them with some cards, including Kerrigan. But that's a really slow strategy. I don't see that. It didn't manifest in Wild. It's a Death Knight card, so like give Death Knight something. It's probably not going to manifest in Wild ever. The stuff that would enable this to be good has probably better targets anyway. So like if the support package for creating a ton of infestors did show up, it would probably make something else impressive instead of this. So there's that. Kerrigan used to cost 7, currently costs 8. Her hero power does 3 damage +1 for each Zerg you have out randomly to all enemies. And the battle cry summons 2/5 queens, hive queens. They give you a random Zerg minion from any class to your hand at the end of your turn. So she's like a big value bomb, and she was cool because like people were playing Kerrigan just as Kerrigan at 7. They were even doing it a little bit at 8, which I thought was ridiculous because they weren't running Renal and Ranger. They were just on something. And the battle cry also deals 3 damage to all enemies. I don't know. I think she's a cool endgame bomb, and she's for Death Knight, Hunter, and Demon Hunter. So like she's 4 classes that I want to have more, oomph. So I don't know. I think she's a home run revert. The controversial ones are these 2. But I think they're good reverts. Like the only reason I would call them controversial is because they were seeing play in Wild before they got nerfed. So like they were good hunter cards. You would run a little Zerg package in both Highlander Hunter, but also in just straight up tempo Renathal Hunter. It made those decks playable, and they were just tempo decks. They weren't like some obnoxious play pattern problem. They were just, Hunter had a good tempo deck. So I'd love to bring those back. Zergling currently summons another Zergling. It used to summon a copy of itself. So it's gone from being an interesting minion to kind of a lame one. But it's bodies. Spotting Pool currently costs 2. It just gives you a Zergling in hand. And it's Death Rattle, like the location has a Death Rattle to give your Zerg minions rush. I would revert both of those. I see no downside, especially if Schaefer stays nerfed. Like the big problem with Zergling is Schaefer, but like if you're buffing Zergling in hand a little bit and then summoning 2 buffed Zerglings, I think that's okay. Then we have Chrono Boost, which currently costs 5. The potential issue with this one is Inner Fire Priest. You can play Chrono Boost, Divine Spirit, Inner Fire, whatever, and then there's a 1-cost copy a Protoss card in Priest, and the copy has like deal 1 damage to it and it dies. But it doesn't matter when you're just kind of like 1 cost doubling the buffed minion with charge. But like it's fine. I don't think that deck was ever close to oppressive, and like again, I would love more non-shadow priest decks to pop up. And Artanis was played in Hero Power Druid and stopped getting played in Hero Power Druid, not because of... I think Rake was already nerfed, wasn't it? I don't remember. Whatever this did in Wild was short-lived. Was it this getting nerfed that finally killed it? I don't remember. Everything's getting muddy. I have too much Hearthstone like knowledge. It's all like blending together now. Too many things have happened. It's harder to keep track. Anyways, the Chrono Boost nerf affected both Druid and Priest, obviously. But what you could do was run just 2 Chrono Boosts, 2 Discounters, and Artanis and Hero Power Druid, and then you would get extra charge cards as well as a 5-cost Artanis to play. Its hero power is give Artanis and a minion Divine Shield, and then give Artanis's attack to the minion this turn. Pretty sure. Oh my goodness. Let me just look it up and be 100% sure, but pretty sure. Give a friendly minion and your hero +1 attack this turn and Divine Shield. Okay, okay. Just +1 attack? Really? I thought it gave your hero's attack to the minion. That was the whole point of it. Was it just that it gave your hero Divine Shield? Was harder to kill? Am I tripping? Gosh, I gotta go back and look at some of my old videos because like this doesn't read as giving the minion your hero's attack, does it? Oh, okay. Okay, I'm stupid. All right. It did. Groovy Cat improves the attack of your hero power, and so that's how it would give the attack of your hero to the minion. Yes. So by way of Groovy Cat, like it allowed Groovy Cat's attack buff to affect both things. All right. So you guys got to see me be an idiot there for a second. It's too much to keep track of, chat. I can't do it anymore. Anyways, the like hero power druid was oppressive and wild when it had Rake was like the that was the nail in the coffin, losing Rake. Like Rake currently costs 2, used to cost 1 when it had Twig Sphere to get all that bonus mana, and when it had Titan Yogg, but it doesn't have any of those things anymore. It's like it's barely playable, and Artanis is not going to change that. So I think there's very low downside to reverting any StarCraft card. The closest would be I want to say Spawning Pool, but like, is it really going to be an issue in Wild? I don't think so. So I hated how gutted the StarCraft set got, and I would love to see it all get restored to its former glory and hopefully have some of it manifest in meta decks. But anyways, that's all of them. This recording is 1 hour and 42 minutes. I talked a full half an hour more than I did the first time, so hopefully you enjoyed that. You can let me know in the comments how stupid my takes are, but like, so I don't know who all did one of these. My Discord tells me I didn't see anybody else's tier list as far as like being able to compare them. I barely have time to do my own tier list. I don't really consume Hearthstone content anymore, but I would be curious to know. So like, I know at least Copper did one, and I know at least Get Meowth did one. So go look at their tier lists, and then let me know in the comments how much thicker is my positive tier, because like the original tier list had 4 tiers, right? So like count all the positive ones. How much thicker, like count them together, right? Like all the, like I consolidated definitely Revert a bit. So like look at their other people's definitely Revert type tiers and compare them to mine. Is mine like way bigger than everyone else's? Because I'm a let's do it, let's revert it. Unless you have a good reason not to, let's go. That's my attitude towards reverts. So like I would revert all of this, all of this. How much bigger is this tier, the do not revert tier, in other people who've done tier lists? I'd be curious to know. Anyways, thank you for watching. I'll see you again someday. Goodbye forever.